welcome to the all-new Effing Racing Show on Twitch Sports. My name's Jez. I am joined by the people you're used to seeing on this show, Rhysage1 and Duff Valley.
Hello.
Hello.
How we doing, gents?
Yeah, good. Very well. Looking forward
For another season to start.
Absolutely. Things are a little different here now compared to previous. Obviously, before, it was just you guys actually talking sense about the F1, and now you're going to have me getting in the way and talking nonsense and asking you stupid questions.
So,
sorry, I'm
the
just
same
not used
as
to
last
answering them.
season. It's just we actually get to see and answer you now.
It's true, yeah. No, last year, it was very much a case of I would talk in your ears and ask the stupid question and say, don't answer me, like, just work it into the conversation. And they'd be like, yeah, Jez, yeah, you're right. And nobody could hear me, so everyone just thought you were a schizophrenic weirdo.
That's about right, to be fair.
They've all
Yes,
seen
no
our
worries.
streams. They know.
Yeah, they've seen enough of us to know that we're weirdos. It's fine. Don't worry about that.
So we've changed the name. We're no longer the Effing F1 Show, which is good, really, because that was a bit of a tongue twister. And on a Sunday morning, after a heavy night of Saturday night drinking, it makes things even worse. So the Effing Racing Show is more copyright friendly and a lot easier to say, and it gives us the scope to maybe delve into some other motorsports as time goes on.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I think that sort of between us, we have a good depth of knowledge of most things with wheels and engines. So I'm sure we can get into some other stuff as well, particularly when some of the big occasions come around. Like there's the Daytona for NASCAR. We've got the 500. There's the 24-hour race at Le Mans as well as another one we could think about. So there's lots coming up throughout the year. Should be good.
Yeah, and gives us the opportunity as well to maybe do a live show from race of some description at some point, which I know we've all been hankering for since we started this last year.
At some point this year, actually just finally, for the first time ever, actually all be in the same room together.
That
Jeez,
would be a thing, wouldn't it? Yeah.
That's a scary thought, man.
Such a weird thing to say, but yeah.
I don't know if I can cope with that now. These days, I'm used to sitting on my chair.
Because I think the last time I physically saw you, Jez, was literally just before the first lockdown.
Yeah, it was this time last year, roughly, in Liverpool at Comic-Con, where I caught COVID. So, yeah.
I didn't. Woo! Not from me. It wasn't from me.
It wasn't from you. And I must have caught it after I spoke with you. So,
Yep.
There you go. That narrows down the timeline a little bit. Otherwise, you'd have had it.
Yep.
But anyway, this is not a COVID podcast. There are other podcasts for that. So, shall we crack on with our first topic of the day? Who wants to take it away?
First topic of the day today is we were going to go through the new driver changes. So there's been a lot of changes, Duff, hasn't there? To be fair, this
massively.
Year. I guess the most important one, the top team, they haven't changed, although there was a little bit of doubt about a certain Lewis's contract, but I don't think it was ever really in doubt he was going to sign at some point.
No, the biggest shock I think for me there is, well, I don't know if it's a shock or not. It kind of is the 1-year contract.
Yes.
So everyone was expecting
Yeah.
Lewis would sign for maybe a couple of years and maybe change, not necessarily driving, but kind of change role. And just 1 year, keeping it open, which is interesting.
Which was a bit of a surprise, wasn't it? I think next year it'll be I think he's going to go to Ferrari or somewhere else personally.
Yeah,
but we shall see.
He was talking in general about perhaps coming to the close of his career, wasn't he? Or he was at least making hints about that last year.
Yes. Yeah, I think. No, go for it, Reese.
No, go on. No, you're fine.
I generally expected he'd want to at least try 2022 with the rule changes as part of his contract with Mercedes. I genuinely assumed this would be possibly the crunch year for Bottas, and it would be Lewis and George next season, but might be the other way round.
Yeah, perhaps it might be. I mean, I think that if they get rid of Lewis, they'll probably take the opportunity to get rid of Bottas as well.
Yeah.
we shall see. So Red Bull, that's a fairly obvious one with their sort of changes. They've brought in Perez from the pink Mercedes last year. Got rid
Thank
of
God
Albon.
it was close. We didn't think he was going to get a contract with anyone at one point.
No, we didn't. We didn't.
And one of the best drivers not being on the grid.
Yeah, between him and the Hulk car's got at least one of them got to drive.
But then there's the whole thing this year now with, could this be Verstappen's last year with a clause in his contract over performance? We'll get on to how they're looking in testing in a bit, but there was then talk of him maybe next season going to Mercedes.
Yeah.
And then how that fits in with everything as well. It's all...
Just imagine if you had Russell and Max at Mercedes.
I know. It would be insane.
That'd be interesting.
That would be a hella team.
It would be a hella team. And I think, personally, I would like to see that. That'd be good. We've got McLaren, who have got a new driver and a new engine. They got both. Why would we get one free?
They've got an M at the end of the car's name now for Mercedes.
Yes, they have. So they've got Danny Rick has joined them from Renault, or Alpine, as they're Alpine. We'll get into that later. And so yeah, already loving the social media content between the two of them is quite funny, which I think everyone knew it would be.
For the team, he really is.
Definitely, and he was straight on the pace, wasn't he, as well on the first day. I think he finished first on the first day in the end.
I think it's nice this season to have good drivers with a good engine. It's the first time we've seen some of these drivers with a Merc engine, and they are properly making use of it.
Yes, Orlando was third this morning in the morning session. So the next session's just started, actually, funny enough, for this afternoon, which is the last 4 hours that they'll get until 2 weeks' time. So Aston Martin have got a new driver as well. What were formerly the Pink Mercs have now got. They've got Mr. Vettel and Daddy's boy, who's just going to be there until his dad sells the team, probably. But
equally with them, there've been talk of Lewis possibly going to them next season.
Yeah, because Toto Wolff owns a fairly large stake in that, if I understand it correctly.
Yeah. I think is it 30%, the same as what he has with the Mercedes?
Yes, I think so. Yeah, I think you're right. So let's talk of that. And I must say, it is nice to see the racing green back.
Yes,
it's a very nice looking car. Other than the strip of pink on it, but
when the first pictures came out, it looked a lot lighter than it actually physically does under natural light, because it didn't look British racing green at all.
No, it didn't. I remember you saying that.
Now seeing it out on track, it's that lovely dark British racing green, and it's really nice to see it back. We haven't seen it since the Caterhams left.
Yes. Oh yeah, Caterham. Yeah, they were racing green, weren't they? As well,
yeah, when they started, when they were Lotus in British racing green, and then their last year as Caterham.
That's right.
What engine are Racing Point using now?
Mercedes again.
They are using the Merc. I thought they were like baby Mercs. So I know things. Woo.
So then we move on to.
Sorry.
No, go on.
There was a picture online, like a split screen picture. And
I saw that. Yes.
Last year's Merc on one side, this year's Aston Martin on the other side, and basically everything joined up perfectly and symmetrical on each side. So that'll be another interesting one if people decide to delve into the rule book again this year. I'm
sure they will, and it's just a matter of time, isn't it? And so we move on to Alpine or Alpine. I think we need to set the standard for the season here between the three of us. Is it Alpine or Alpine?
It's French. Oof. French always say things weird, so I'm going to say Alpine.
I'm going to have to Google it. Hang on 1 second.
Jez goes for the single source of truth that is Google.
If you can't trust weirdos on the internet, who can you trust?
I just want to know what the word means. It's a French thing. What does it mean in French? What does Alpine mean?
That's a good question.
It's the same as in English. Okay, cool. That's where the word comes from. Great. Let's have the French pronunciation.
Well, Google say it to you.
It will do. Hang on. Let me have a listen.
Here we go. Live on stream.
Alpine.
Boom.
There it is. Well, Google has spoken. I'm going with Alpine.
Jeez. Okay, well, that's fair enough. Wow, bloody hell. Well, I mean, yeah, I think it's good to get that out of the way. Obviously, they've got one of my favourite drivers back, Alonso. Looking forward to seeing him.
Most people's favourite driver.
Yeah, I mean, and I know we've covered it off in previous streams, but ever since his time at like McLaren, he properly chilled out and started to have a laugh at himself, like the deck chair moment and other stuff like that. So I am glad that he is back in the sport. He seems to be, pardon me, flying around.
He seems to be massively on the pace already. 2 years out, hasn't changed anything. They were saying that if you stuck a pound coin on one of the apexes on any one of the turns, he would hit it every single time. He was that spot on with his cornering.
Yeah, that was Karun, wasn't it, with his pearls of wisdom? Like, oh, you never guess what, lads, and what's that, Karun? It's really sandy in Bahrain. Oh, is it? It's in the middle of the desert, you twat. Anyway, sorry, it's supposed to be a family-friendly stream.
No, it's not. That's the other change. I did away with the notion that this is a family-friendly stream because I was tired of restraining you without being here with you, and I've got no hope of restraining you as I'm right here winding you up with daft questions. So no.
Well, we used to manage to keep it sensible, to be fair. But,
you didn't have to put the bleeps into the podcast version afterwards, Rhys.
Oh, my dear. Fair point. All right. Thanks, Jez. Anyway, moving on to our next team. So the next team, Ferrari, obviously you've got a new driver as well. So they've got Carlos Sainz, formerly of McLaren last year. Again, I don't necessarily think it's that good a move for him, personally, but we shall wait and see. He's not going to be top dog there, is he?
What they've done with their engine this year and what they've spent their tokens on.
Well, early talk seems that it seems a lot more reliable. I mean, they had that trouble with the fuel flow, which is the reason that their engine was so shit last year.
They probably had to spend most of their tokens on taking out the fuck Vettel button.
Taking out the fuck Vettel button, yeah, that's true. The fuck Vettel button did get some good use. But I mean, I don't think that they're going to be challenging at the front personally, but who knows? Because you can't really tell from preseason testing, particularly.
But they've got two good and hungry drivers, so
yes, they certainly have got.
They'll
talent.
Be pushing as hard as they possibly can.
Definitely. Which brings us on to AlphaTauri, that well-known fashion brand. If you're 15, it's one of the most expensive coats you'll ever see in your life. Anyway, so they've got Pierre Gasly, which is continuation from last year, and Honda's payboy Yuki Tsunoda, I should say. Again, came in from it's his rookie season. Time will tell, I suppose. Is he there because he's Japanese? Possibly. Who knows? But I mean, I did see him in Formula 2 because I watched a fair bit of Formula 2 last year, to be fair, because it is really good racing for anyone that's
brilliant racing
on a Saturday and Sunday. And he seemed to do all right in that. He was never at the front, to be fair, but then Formula 2 is kind of like Formula 1 in terms of if you're not in the right team, although the cars are all the same. I think the preparation work and stuff they do is quite different depending on which team you're with. So yeah, hopefully he does well. It'd be nice to have a Japanese driver back in Formula 1. Can you remember the last one?
Bigger prize. Would it? No, I'm thinking Takuma Sato, but I think there was one after that. Oh, it was Kamui Kobayashi.
Kobayashi, there he is.
Yeah.
Kobayashi.
Yeah. He came back, didn't he? He came back for one last season, and he was making some amazing overtakes in that last season. It was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it was Sauber. Was he came back?
Yes.
I can't remember.
Yeah.
I think. And so, speaking of Sauber, Alfa Romeo, formerly Sauber, have gone for the same lineup. I'm pleased that Kimi is still in the sport, even though he doesn't look it himself. And Giovinazzi, I think it's very much a make or break season for Giovinazzi this year.
It's hard for him, though, isn't it? Because he spent so long at the back. It's those things where, you hear of legendary drivers that all start. I mean, what was it? Alonso
Schumacher
started in like Minardi, and
Webber started in Minardi as well.
Exactly.
Senna started in a Tolman.
In Jordan back in the day when they were nowhere near the front. And then, but they came through quite quickly.
Look
where
at Leclerc.
if you get stuck in the back, and
exactly.
I mean, what is he really supposed to do in that? How do you shine in a Alfa Romeo?
You shine by beating the oldest driver on the grid, and he's not even doing that, is he? Consistently. Yeah. And I know Kimi's still fast, but if you're a young rookie coming through, if you stuck Leclerc in that car, you'd probably beat him.
Yeah.
And if he's not up to that standard, then you're gonna. But Alfa Romeo are going to be at the back of Williams all year, the same as Haas.
Yeah.
Haas have got 2 new drivers, which sees the return of MSC to the old timing boards.
Oh yeah.
I didn't realize, but in Formula One, he wasn't racing with MSC; it was SCH.
Oh, okay.
Now he's gone into now he's back in Formula One. He's changed it to MSC as a tribute to his dad.
Nice.
Kind of nice.
Good to see that up on the
we're not going
timing
to talk
board.
about him. The other driver's a prick. We're not talking about him, and he's just an arsehole. The other driver is Nikita Mazepin, who I'm sure some of you will have seen the social media storm that he put out. Shouldn't even be driving in Formula One as far as I'm concerned. So we'll move on to Williams, who again have stayed the same. What are they going to do? Again, it's the only chance that we're going to see Russell doing well is if Lewis or Bottas gets COVID again or injure themselves. I think, sadly, but I think another season of outpacing his teammate probably is the best that George can hope for in a couple of points.
This is our first full season without the Williams family.
Yes,
Williams.
Yeah,
with the new group of owners that look as though they're willing to put money in. I mean, it's looked good in testing so far. So hopefully this season, I think Haas are going to be at the back because they're not developing their car at all this year. They've already said they're not developing their car one bit. So they're going to be at the back because they're putting all their resources into next year after the rule changes. So they'll be at the back. I really want and hope that Williams can beat Alfa Romeo this season.
Yeah, and they should beat Haas as well because they were competing with them last year. So Williams have got a new car. They have got they've got the Merc as well. So there's no reason they shouldn't be beating that. I mean, if in a season where where the Pink Mercs can win a race last year, there's always hope. There's always hope. But we shall wait and see. Wait and see. So one other thing. So new liveries. There's lots of new colours and cars on the grid this year. Which is your favourite one?
For me, I think it's Aston Martin with the British Racing Green.
Pretty colours. Mm.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, my favourite is my favourite overall is still the McLaren because I love that papaya orange. Favourite of the new ones, I quite like Alpine.
Yeah,
I have to say.
Yeah, Alpine is my favourite for sure. I'd like that kind of two-tone split down the middle deal.
Let's switch it then. I already know what Rhys is going to answer, but what's your least favourite?
My least favourite.
Is it the Russian flag? Is it?
Yes, it absolutely is the Russian flag. I think it's a disgrace. It's absolute disgrace. And I hope WADA come and kick their ass, which hopefully they will do, and tell them that they can't have that. I mean, it's obvious, isn't it? They got that Russian oil sponsor, and if it was similar to last year's livery, you could kind of go, "Oh, well, we just added a bit of blue for the sponsor," and you go, "All right, fair enough. They haven't really changed it, but it's completely different." It's like, oh, okay, so why have you changed it? Well, because it looks like the Russian flag. Oh, you can't have that. And so I think they'll probably end up having to do something about that.
Stick your thumb up, Rhys.
Oh.
Hi, Super Curly One. Welcome. I don't like the Mercedes one. I just think it's dull.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it is. Yep.
Like at least other people have tried things, whereas Mercedes is just it's just too black with a tiny little.
I mean, they have changed it a little bit. I mean, even Ferrari have changed it with the green bit on the back.
Yeah,
and the wing
highlight
sort of blends into black, doesn't it?
The green highlighter on the top.
And it's like someone's gone and sort of doodled on it, like Eric's done it or something. And so I was like, right, okay, so that's different. But then the rear wing of the Ferrari looks like there's a massive oil leak and it's covered the engine, covered the wing in oil. It almost fades to black. I don't know if you noticed.
Yeah.
Particularly under the lights.
I'm not a massive fan of the Williams livery.
No, nor me. but I
They say
let him off.
it's to as a tribute to the winning colours of the 80s and 90s, but I don't see it. They were predominantly blue with that amazing yellow stripe.
Yep, the
And
Buffman's colours.
yeah, and all they've done is gone white at the front, blue at the back, and we'll stick some tiny thin little bits of almost orange in the middle. And it's like, what's that?
No, I agree with you, mate.
That's not a
I
tribute
agree.
at all. You've just gone, we'll kind of make it those colours and, I don't know, design it in paint.
Yeah,
Where we can only use the straight line tool.
straight line tool, the blend tool that goes around the outside of the car, the outline tool. So the next thing I had on mine, I've just added it into the notes. I just remembered talking about it this morning. Is the prospect of sprint races this year on a Saturday?
Should make it interesting, isn't it? Brazil, Monza, and Silverstone.
Yeah.
So now, for those of us not educated on this, do you want to explain what the sprint races are?
Yeah, so the sprint races, if you look at Formula 2, for example, on the Saturday, they have a sprint race which determines the grid for the main feature race on Sunday. So they haven't released the proper details for Formula 1 yet, but if they were to do it the same as that, there would be a practice and then a qualifying on Friday for the sprint race. Then wherever you finish in the sprint race is where you start the grid for the main race. But it would be, I think they said half hour of a race, however many laps that works out for each track, that then sets the grid for the main race. I don't know whether it's I don't know. It's one of those things. I mean, I didn't like the current quali format until I got into it, and now I think we got qualifying right personally. I don't know.
I think quali works. Wasn't before that they tried the single lap?
Yeah, hot lap.
Yeah, you got one hot lap, and that was it. Your time on that one hot lap was your qualifying.
I think this sprint idea might make things a little bit more interesting, because
I think
rather than just the qualifying laps are pretty much just a procession around. They're not really challenged in any way by the other cars. In fact, they have to get out of the way most of the time. So a sprint race, you might see something more closely to an actual race. I like the sound of that.
Yeah, that's true. I hadn't looked at it that way before, but it's a fair point. A lot of it takes away, although so and so blocked me on this corner because I was on my cool down lap or whatever, driving around like an empty, like a grandma in a Formula 1 car trying to cool the tyres down. It takes that away. I mean, does it mean people will take more chances in that race? Do you risk losing the only front wing you've got on a corner trying to go past someone? I don't know. It'll be interesting, won't it? It'll be interesting. At least they're not doing reverse grids, because I think that's a stupid idea. But
yeah, no, I'm not a fan of that at all.
There'd be too much gaming with that, wouldn't there?
Yeah, I mean,
people would be trying to throw their qualifying.
Yeah, it works in British touring car because you reverse the grid and you have extra ballast in the car to kind of mix it up a bit, and they have quite a few races over a weekend anyway. So as the whole thing goes along, it works out. But yeah, reverse grid just for one race, it's intentionally mixing it up.
And that's not what Formula 1 is for me.
Yeah.
Just catch the chat. Super Curly One, do we know you? But if we don't, I love you already. I'd read the chat till then. I said, oh, hello. Okay, cool. So do you want to take us through the rule changes, Duff?
This year's rule changes. Basically, I've done a thing with like 5 key changes for the rules this season. There aren't many because, well, we'll go into why in Rule 4. But so number 1 is there's a lower cost cap. If you didn't know, Formula 1 now has a cost cap in. Last season it was 175 million. This year it's dropped down to 145 million. This is to kind of have a more level financial playing field, and as the years go on over the next 2 years it'll drop another 5 mil. So 2022 it's 140 million, 2023 is 135 million. So that, yeah, didn't it work out something ridiculous like 2 years ago Mercedes spent God knows how many 100 million?
I think it was 400 million. I think
400 million to win the title, which is insane when you think people like Williams and that they're going to struggle to even reach the 145 million this season.
Yeah, they're having to recruit in, aren't they, to get up there to spend the money in the first place.
I think it most benefits any potential new teams that want to come in, because for a long time it's been that, you know, Formula One has been the rich man's game, and you couldn't even contemplate racing in Formula One unless you could bankroll it to the tune of multi-hundred millions of dollars. So I think this would be great for the lower end, at least.
Yeah, Haas is the only team that's kind of managed to stick it out, and they're at the back of the grid at the moment because they're struggling. And the only other way is to buy out an existing team.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see whether this brings more people in, particularly with the new regs and engine regs coming in. There's talk of Volkswagen and Porsche. They're technically the same thing. I think they're owned by this Volkswagen and Porsche.
All owned by VW, yeah.
Yeah. So that would be interesting, according to Mr. Domenicali, that Porsche would like to go. You know, Formula One always, and I know people go, there's only 4 engines or whatever, but people, I think that always goes up and down. I think the most there was only ever 6 or 7 different engines, and that was when there was 26 cars. So I don't think it's a major issue getting people in a minute. So, I mean, I'd like to see more cars, but
yeah,
I think it is what it is.
Right. So rule 2 is the aero testing sliding scale, which comes in this year. So for the first time in Formula One, you are massively limited on the amount of time you can be testing aero, whether it's in wind tunnels or anything like that. So what they've done is there's now a reverse sliding scale. So if you're last in the season, you get more time testing aero than if you're first. And it will, from what I understand, that is throughout the season. So last year, Williams did terrible. So as the season progresses this year, they will have more chances throughout the season to better their aero, where Mercedes basically kind of have to determine their aero at the start of the season.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Is that going to adjust as the season goes on, or is it based on last year?
It's based on last year.
Based on last year.
Okay.
So I don't think we'll see the true effects of that till next year. But
definitely, it gives Williams a bit of a. If they use it the right way, it gives them a lot more development time for next year's car with all the rule changes, doesn't it? So
yes,
hopefully they'll be clever enough to use it the right way, and not waste it in this year's car.
It's a good move, though. I like that.
Yeah. Coming from that, then, as what you said, is rule 3 is, which I assume most people know, is the new era of Formula One, which was supposed to start this year, has been pushed back to 2022. So due to COVID and everything, all the new aero changes, engine changes, wheel changes have all been put back to give teams more time to prepare, because people have been furloughed and obviously not been able to get in to the offices. So so next year, massive changes, and hopefully we'll do that on next year's preview show.
Yeah, absolutely.
So then rule 4 for this season is, in order to save costs for this year, chassis and suspension, the whole system, haven't been changed at all. The only real thing they can develop this year are wings, side pods, and diffusers.
Yeah.
Now it looks as though McLaren have possibly already found a loophole in that this year already.
Yeah,
there's a lot of talk about their diffuser.
So the diffuser, for those wondering, that's at the back of the car that controls the air coming out of the. So you've got the wing, and then on the almost on the floor of the car, you've got like a bit like that controls the airflow that comes underneath the car and then spits it up. So when you see them driving in the rain and you get the fumes of water and stuff, that's the air being thrown up from under the car, pushing the water up. So it controls the airflow of that bit.
There's also now a triangular section in front of the wheels. So after you have the side pods come down and it starts to get really thin, you've got what we call the floor, which is a nice kind of flat flat part of the car, and there's a triangle right in front of the rear tire where normally they would change how the aero coming off the car and the side pod would affect the tire. Now with that, Pirelli have to kind of change how they develop and use the tire. Now with going to new tires next year, that part in front of the wheel, there is absolutely no work allowed to be done on any part of that floor that affects the air around the tire, because we are going to completely different wheels and tires next season.
Absolutely.
So that is completely off limits. And that is actually just that small area is expected to make about half a second difference in lap. So they will be half a second slower this year, which is what they reckon from year to year they can kind of develop out of the car, so they can make them half a second quicker every year. So this is supposed to combat anything that they would have made over the winter.
Did you see the chat that that Ted had with Vettel, cream cheese?
Yes, yeah, the gone off slice of cheese.
And he had a slice of cheese that was the same shape as the area that you've been talking about, and all Seb did was give him grief for 5 minutes on wasting cheese. Apparently, he's a big cheese lover. Well worth watching that clip.
Then the last Rule 5, or the key 5 key change, is upgrades and the hours of testing on engines. So they've massively limited this year the amount of upgrades you can have on your engine and the amount of hours you can test it, whether physically or digitally, and in the hope to bring down costs so that all the other teams buying their engines aren't forking out extra millions for new engines throughout the season.
And it also meant that Red Bull didn't pick up their ball and run away, which was another bonus. And because for those who are wondering, obviously Honda are leaving the sport next year. Red Bull have bought the engine sort of plans basically, and they have now started up Red Bull Engine Performance, whatever the company's called. So they're going to continue on with the Honda engines, but design and build them and maintain them themselves. And they might even sell them as well. Who knows? And I think that they might just be doing that for a couple of years until someone like Porsche or someone comes in. Who knows? We shall wait and see.
You never know. Red Bull might make a bit of cash and sell on their engine notes and plans and everything to someone like Porsche or Cosworth or whoever want to come in, so they're not starting from scratch. It could end up being quite lucrative for them.
One thing that Helmut Marko does like to do is make money. So I'm sure if there's a way to make money from it, they will do it.
If he's going to try and sell you a coat for 800 quid, he'll happily sell on his engine.
Some of the prices on there were ridiculous. I was having a laugh at it the other day. Anyway, so
yeah, that's your 5 key changes this season.
Yeah, it's a season of stability in some ways, but there are some big changes in there as well. Next year we'll see how it once the new cars and stuff come out, that'll be a massive change as well.
I think for me this year, the biggest thing will be when people stop developing this year's car, because it is basically last year's car. So with such a big rule change, it's where are people going to want their money to go? The lower teams are going to stop developing earlier.
Haas already have, haven't they?
It's the one thing about this year. People like Haas and, well, it makes even more sense, I suppose, because Haas not developing this year's car means all their aero testing they've got this season, they can spend on developing next year's car early.
Mm-hmm. It's a bit like
whether Williams are thinking of doing the same thing. And it'll be really interesting this season as well on Friday practice, especially towards the end of the season, because they're going to start developing more and more of next year's stuff put on this year's car towards the end of the season.
Yeah.
Because they've got that free time to develop. So they might as well. So it'd be interesting.
It's the only time they can.
What odd things we see on this year's cars.
I suppose it'd be more interesting at the front of the field, or kind of in that mid to front of the field, where you're very close to getting into that main bit of kind of championship contention. It's can you spend some money on this year's car to push yourself up into that top 3, and making the decision of whether it's worth it or not, or whether you just let yourself drop back and refocus on next year. That's where it's going to be really interesting.
Equally, that midfield, with the changes, are you going to want to, okay, third, you get a bit more money, but say you come 6th, you get more time with your aero. So what's worth more to you, the prize money, or can you forego that to have more aero testing for next year?
I think it depends on which team it is first, isn't it? And what their financial situation. If it was Haas, they'll go, no, we'll take the money. If it was a McLaren or someone, they'll go, actually, for a bit more time wouldn't hurt us if we lose £2 million. So be it. I think the mid-table battle, so from third or sort of second now, I guess, down, is going to be just as close as last year, if not closer. If Ferrari get themselves back into it as well, it'll be very tight, very tight.
Yes,
but we'll see. I mean, I still hope that McLaren will be the best of the rest. I don't think they'll beat Red Bull.
No, I think Red Bull are looking strong. They are in testing.
Yeah, I was just looking at that now that they're back out. They're all back out on track at the minute.
Which hopefully brings us along to the next section.
Ah, look at that. It's almost seamless. Almost seamless.
You don't even need me here to segue you into things. Look at that.
We love a good segue on this show, to be fair.
Yes.
Danny Rick is back out in the Merc now. Alonso's out this afternoon as well. George is still staying out because Williams did it quite differently this year in testing. They even gave out of the 3 days, they gave their test driver a day, which I don't know why they've done that, but he must be paying for it. So the cynic in me says,
but people like Williams need the cash, though.
Yeah. I can see why they do it.
I'm surprised Haas gave both their drivers equal throughout the weekend.
Indeed, I said Fernando's back out. He's already done 127 laps, so he's back out in the car this afternoon as well. I mean, it's always hard to read into the preseason testing, isn't it? You never really know which fuel they've got. The only thing you do know is what tyres they're on, but again, it's new.
I mean, everyone's there testing different parts. I mean, you see them out there with the aero screens. I mean, was it yesterday? I think, was it the Williams? I think half the car was an aero screen.
Yeah,
it was mad, or covered in Flovis paint. For those that don't know, you saw. I think you see it. I think I've seen it in a few newspapers and pictures. But what they'll have is during testing, they almost have this. It almost looks like a chicken wire cage that's bolted to the car, and what it has little nodules on it, and each nodule is a sensor. So what they can do is when they go around the track, each sensor detects how the air is coming off, say, the front wing, coming off the side pods, the rear wing, and they can measure that and get the data. And then that can feed back into their simulations, and they can test how their simulations pre-season match up with what it's actually doing on track. And then they can change parts of the car, angles of the wing, everything. Throughout testing. And that's what those weird kind of bird cages on the sides of the cars are.
Yeah, they're pretty cool things, pretty expensive things as well. They had, I think it's an extra 25 kilo of weight for the one that I think it was McLaren the day.
Or they can go old school and just use Flovis paint and take pictures of how that paint splatters along the edge of the car.
It's a cool way of doing it there. I noticed Mercedes had specially coloured Flovis paint, so you couldn't really see it.
Interesting.
Because normally it's like fluorescent, isn't it?
Yes.
Orange or green or whatever, but they had black Flovis paint that you couldn't really see unless you dived in and you were sort of right close to it, as Mr. Kravitz was saying.
But then this shows you once again what the teams that can afford to put more money into it, especially with a season like this year where the cars are kind of carrying on. They already knew they had a good car. So they don't massively need to do much with the car, other than I think they needed to change. They've got a slight bump on the sides of the car now. If you look where the engine is, there's slight bumps where they've changed something in the engine and have had to build their new casing around it. But other than that,
the only Mercedes only Mercedes car or engined team that doesn't have that is the McLaren.
Yep, because
Because
they built
McLaren apparently have
built theirs
it
wider.
differently.
Yeah, but then equally, getting on to testing. Yesterday we noticed I noticed it on, I think, the F1 site. McLaren have found some sort of loophole in the regulations where in the diffuser, and they've got some sort of weird new diffuser design that no one quite knows what it does yet.
No, and it puts McLaren at the front of the grid, which is where we all want to see them.
It's 2009 all over again with a double diffuser.
Mate, wouldn't that be fantastic? Lando Norris, world champion. Oh, no, don't get me excited.
I
don't get me
think
I was
excited.
going to say, don't dream too much. You don't want to be disappointed.
I think Lando's got a bit more of a fight on his hands than Jensen did.
Yes, Rubens never really gave him much of a battle, did he? To be fair, there wasn't much. That wasn't much of a
Ferrari
fight.
beat that out of him.
Yeah. Who knows how it might have been had he not had that time spent with Schumacher. So we've got McLaren and Alpine. I will master it. Alpine, looking solid, which is quite true. Merck had that bad start with the gearbox fault that they'd never seen before, but they seem to be over that now. Putting in some solid laps.
Merck always seems to get all their problems out in testing, which is annoying.
Yeah, that one happened to everyone else until the first race of the season, you see. We got Ferrari running heavy, I think. From what the guys on sort of Sky have been saying and the way they can tell if the cars are running heavy, apparently.
Yeah.
They've got a lot of fuel in. So, but again, you don't really know, do you?
No,
until they line up
so
on
hard to
the grid.
tell. I mean, it's going to be a struggle to know till qualifying, really. I think maybe till Q2, FP2, but
and they really put their foot down a bit.
Yeah, because Friday's testing is just going to be exactly the same as testing is today. It's in the same place. But yeah, qualifying will be when we finally find out this season what we've got on our hands.
Definitely. We also had down in the Alonso watch, although we covered it briefly earlier on. Flying through it like a metronome is. Like a metronome. That's my big word of the day, by the way.
Have you got one of those calendars, Rhys? Tear it off the...
Damn, I'm busted. But he seems to be flying through it, which is good.
Did he suffer any kind of long-term effects of the accident he had in the off-season, Alonso?
Yeah, he's got to do the whole season with two titanium plates in his mouth, because the surgery needs to have him out. It would obviously take him out for too long, but it's safe enough to leave him in, apparently, so he's doing the whole season with them in.
$6 million man by the end of the season.
He'll be able to get a new deck chair.
Nice.
So that's Alonso.
A titanium-plated deck chair.
Yes, titanium-plated deck chair. Now we're talking. We'll get Lewis a titanium scooter, and we'll be away, won't we?
I'm sure his is probably already diamond or something.
Oh yeah, Diamante. Yeah. So we'll have a quick run through the calendar then, shall we, as well, whilst we're looking at it. So season kicks off in just 2 weeks' time.
I know, it's come around pretty quick, really.
Yep.
I just realised I put last year's calendar in the notes. So
that's handy.
Shows everyone read that as well.
Well, I actually loaded up the calendar in a browser, so I'll tell you what, I'll throw you the link in our notes, and you can go to it if you want. There you go.
Why don't you take us through, Jez?
Sure, if you like. Yeah, so on the weekend of the 26th to the 28th of March, we kick off the season in Bahrain.
We do.
Is that the earliest Bahrain has been? Yes,
normally Australia. I think it's still the same weekend. I think it's still the same weekend that it normally is.
Right.
But normally the week before is Australia. But obviously they've moved that to later on in the year.
Which is a shame, because I really loved it in the latter part of the calendar last year. I think it really mixed it up.
It did.
The whole thing with the calendar is they're always in parts of the world or places where the weather should generally be lovely to make the racing easier. But the whole best part of the calendar last year was all so mixed up that we were in places in like monsoon season, and I know in the past, like Japan in monsoon season, we've basically cancelled the entire weekend.
Yeah, they have. Yeah.
Last year it just seemed right. I don't know.
Yeah, because Australia is now on my birthday weekend in November 19th and the 19th to 21st. So the race on the 21st on the Sunday. But that's summer in Australia, isn't it? So it'll be hot and sunny. It's 2 weeks after Brazil, and then obviously we finish at Abu Dhabi as always because that's where the money is, as tradition. But I mean, it's good that we're going back to Monza. Pleased that Portimao, a stream favourite, is back again. So we'll be getting out the cat for that one. Other highlights, standard season really, isn't it? Then I suppose we finally get to race around Zandvoort, hopefully, with that big banked corner. That'll be fun.
You had some nice racing on that on F1 2020 the other week.
Yeah, we did. It's the first time I'd seen that track, so it was cool. And I'm glad we're going to go back to the States because that's a great track. That is one race I would really like to do once all this COVID stuff is done and we can travel again, because I think that'd be a great sort of week away, going out and do that, because it always looks like a great track to sort of watch from because of the big hill at the start and everything else. I bet you could get some really good views from there. So bring on the season. Bring it on.
And there's obviously the addition of Saudi Arabia this year as well. Yeah. How do we feel about that?
Well, I'm not overly bothered, if I'm honest about it. I think when a country is trying to change its perception of it, people's perception of it, they've got to start somewhere. Otherwise, it's never going to happen, is it? So this is the start.
I mean, they could probably start with changing the country, but that's another story for another day.
There is, definitely. Yeah. And that's for the F1 politics thread. And I think it's the same old thing, isn't it?
They finally released what the track is actually going to be, because it's just a street race for the first few years till they build the circuit.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to find out. I mean, street tracks are usually pretty boring because they're always really thin and there's not much overtaking. I mean, being in Saudi Arabia, you never know. All the roads are probably 4 lanes wide, so it might give us. It might actually give us.
You've got the space for sure, haven't you? Yeah. I mean, am I the only one that looked at the calendar and was hoping that they were going to make the track into a giant T, B, and C and just drive around that?
That would be quite cool. I mean, the thought hadn't sort of occurred to me, but yeah, that'd be quite hilarious. It wouldn't be that bad a track, actually, looking at it. Yeah.
Other than the T, you'd have some really tight corners to get around. The rest of it would be pretty much fine, yeah.
People would still complain it was boring, though, wouldn't they?
To be fair, the top left-hand corner of the T would be quite a nice hairpin.
Yeah. And then some nice long bends for the C.
Yep.
And the bits of the B.
Yeah, the C is almost kind of reminiscent of Turn 8 at Turkey.
Yeah.
That nice, long, swooping corner.
It's half an oval.
Yeah.
You could do that, man. So, because there's talk of going back to Indy next year as well. I do
genuinely love the fact that it's TBC, but they have actually put the directional arrow on. So it'll be anti-clockwise.
They have, haven't they? Yeah.
Don't know of what. Yeah.
That's a good point.
Brilliant.
I hadn't spotted that, but well spotted there, Duff. Well spotted.
So maybe that is the track.
Can you imagine?
Maybe if it is now, I want some royalties. That's my idea.
Stolen. Thank you.
I find that massively amazing that when they built their city, they built the buildings into a T, a B, and a C.
Dear me. There.
And for those that don't know what we're on about, we've got the schedule up, and in their track diagrams, there's a TBC, obviously, because it's not designed, but it's drawn in a way that looks like the other tracks.
It does, yeah. It's got that black outline that all of the others have, so it does it does look like a track, even though it very obviously isn't.
And yeah, that directional marker is just hilarious.
Oh god, that'd be so funny. So funny.
Right, so it looks as though I'm taking over your duties, Jez. Sorry, but we
Go for it.
looks as though we're about to take a commercial break. But before we go into it, I don't know if everyone's got the thing up, but unfortunately we lost Murray Walker yesterday. So from each of us, I think we should go into the break with a Murrayism. He's massively known for them. So I think if each of us pick a Murrayism to go into the commercial break, what could be better?
Sounds good to me.
I'll go with.
I've already got mine.
Go on,
lead us off then, yeah.
Okay then, my favourite Murrayism is there's nothing wrong with his car except that it's on fire.
I'll go with half the race gone, there is still half the race to go.
I like this is an interesting circuit because it has inclines. And not just up, but down as well.
And don't forget, if is a very long word is a very long word in Formula 1. In fact, if is F1 spelled backwards. I can go all day on these.
Oh, brilliant. There's so many.
I want to say so much more than I have time for. That almost sounds like Alex. An Alex quote. As well as a Murrayism.
Yeah, that's one thing they couldn't do in the commentary is let's go to chat.
The lead car is unique, except for the one behind it, which is identical. You just go all day.
So we are going to take our break. When we come back, we will discuss what we're most looking forward to this season. We'll lay down some predictions, get geared up for the first race, and I fully expect there'll be a few more Murrayisms, to be honest.
Absolutely.
Stay tuned, we'll be back in 2. Welcome back to the Effing Racing Show here on Twitch Sports on the Jez Show. What do we have next on our slate? Gents?
Next on the slate we have what are we most looking forward to this season. So what is the one thing that we're counting down the hours to lights out for the first race? Other than doing the show, of course.
Well, mine is kind of linked a little bit to this show because, as I've come back into the sport of Formula One, I've enjoyed this through, watching you guys watch it and enjoying what you're enjoying. So I think I'm most looking forward to not things going wrong as such in the season, but opportunities for hilarity that come from that. So, for example, I'm looking forward to the first Lewis Hamilton scooter sighting. I'm looking forward to hearing you give Karun Chandok a hard time, and Crofty as well.
Idiot.
Race, yeah. So it's things like that I'm most looking forward to. Really, it's enjoying another season with you two.
Fair play. Fair play.
Nice.
What about you, Duff?
I'm looking forward to. It's a bit nerdy, but I'm looking forward to the developmental race over this season, and like we said earlier, how they decide on what it is they want to change this season, if they want to change it. And I kind of want to say as well, the drivers in their new cars, but I don't think that's going to be a massive factor. The cars that were good last year, I think, are going to be good this year, and there's going to be that strong midfield battle, which will be great. But it's just within that kind of how are they going to develop, because they're all going to want that third place, but they're all not going to want to spend too much because of next season. So I'm really looking forward to the kind of nerdy bits where Ted talks about what changes have been made and how their teams are going to develop it.
Nerd.
Yeah. Definitely. Nerd. Definitely. I mean, I think personally, I always look forward to Ted's notebook. Give that a shout. It's one of my favourite. I mean, I could just watch Ted. If it's a boring race, I could just watch Ted's notebook and it's fine. Overall, I'm looking forward to seeing, hopefully, a closer battle for the title. Whether that's with Max and Lewis or anyone else, I'm not bothered. But Lewis plus someone, obviously. Looking forward to seeing that. I'm looking forward to seeing how Perez does in that Red Bull. It'll be interesting to see. Can he hold his own? Is it that Max is so ingrained into the team that no matter who you stick in there, they're not going to be as quick as him? Could be, but we'll see. And looking forward to hopefully the continued resurgence of McLaren, my favourite team.
I think for me in that is, I think that this season there's a lot more pressure on Max than there is on Perez.
Yeah.
Because with the whole Albon thing, it was all the pressure coming from Red Bull themselves, but Perez has got backing. He's not come through, had that Helmut Marko behind him constantly. He's racing for himself. Where with that kind of mix of Red Bull and Verstappen is that Verstappen has that clause in his contract, so there is going to be tension when stuff goes wrong. Not for Perez, isn't. He's come in. Okay, stuff goes wrong. Fair enough. It's not a problem. But with that break in his contract of, I generally think there's going to be a lot more tension between Red Bull and Max this year if it does go wrong.
Yeah, it's the first time that he's had. I mean, since it's the first time he's had someone who's probably not, like I said, he was outside of the Red Bull family. Doesn't really give a toss about Red Bull in terms of Helmut Marko and stuff, probably because why would he? So no, I think if he gets a good start, it'll be interesting to see whether Max chucks the toys out of the pram. Which I think he will do.
The first person outside of Red Bull since David Coulthard.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because he went there from Williams or McLaren, was it? One of the two. McLaren, yeah, because he was there. That's right. And so no, that's definitely something that I'm looking forward to.
Sure. Yes.
It brings us on to something that we thought we'd do for this year. Since we didn't do the whole season last, because we started halfway through, didn't we?
Mm-hmm.
And as this is show lucky number 13 for us, we thought that we'd we would kind of follow the mainstream efforts of predicting the first, second, and third in the championship at the end of the season. So all three of us have a piece of paper similar to this, I would imagine, that says F1 predictions, and on there, I want you to write who's going to win the title, who's going to come second, and who's going to come third, and then we're going to.
And anyone else that's watching, if you want to join in,
you can indeed.
Absolutely, yeah. It's very difficult to not talk about this as I'm doing it. Is the problem?
Yes, but not.
Should we have a little bit at the bottom as well? We'll have 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
And let's have the weirdest thing you think is going to happen this season.
Weirdest thing you think is going to happen this season? All right,
yeah.
Okay.
Like last year, we never would have predicted a fireball.
Mm.
You know.
Yeah. No. I'm all for that. Okay, that's my predictions done. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to post this to Jez because I'll lose it. And I'm going to have my weird prediction there. In fact, I'm going to put 2 predictions down for that. Here we go. Because that always happens every year eventually.
Okay, that's my predictions and my out there prediction.
All this. Jez, I will post this to you.
Cool.
And then on the season review at the end of the year, we will. Because I've got to post you a sticker anyway, so I'll post this at the same time.
Sounds
Hopefully,
perfect.
I'll be able to bring this to you this year.
That would be nice, wouldn't it?
This and a bottle of vodka.
I like the sound of this. I've got absolutely no complaints about this whatsoever. Right, so I'm going to put this in between Finding Nemo and The Incredibles. So when I can't find it, we can look back at this and we'll know it's between Finding Nemo and The Incredibles.
All right, cool. That makes sense to me.
As long as my mic doesn't get in the way. There you go.
And as long as you don't watch or play either of them and it falls out.
And they go in a different place, yeah.
Yeah.
I've rearranged the whole room halfway through the air, and I'm like, oh, the games aren't even in this room anymore.
Games? What games? We don't have any games. So the first race, I think we'll do. I guess we can do the predictions for the first race on the first race, can't we? But
yeah.
I think it's still going to be hard to look past the.
Can we not do this as well from race to race? From what we've seen on the previous race, predict who we think's going to win the next race.
Oh yeah, we can do that.
So if we did the Bahrain prediction now, then we'll see how we do in 2 weeks' time.
So you want to do it sight unseen, basically. You don't want to include qualifying in it. You wouldn't.
No.
Oh, okay.
Literally the race before, just from what we've seen, who we think is going to be 1, 2, and 3.
Okay.
Just rip my bit of paper enough.
Well, should we declare that on live on show rather than
we can
writing
put it
it
on
down?
the notes.
Yeah, we'll put it in there for next time. So, being as it's your idea, Duff, and you've put us on the spot, you can kick us off.
But yeah, I think first will be Lewis. I think second will be Max. And I think third will be Danny Ricciardo.
Interesting.
Okay. Are you ready, Rhys?
I'm going to go... I think Bottas, because he always starts the season strong. Lewis is going to have a tantrum, so he's not going to finish second. He's going to blow up in his scooter. So I'm going to say Max. And
blow up in his scooter?
Hopefully. Max, and then third, I'm going to go Perez.
Nice.
Okay. I'm on the same kind of train as you. I don't think Lewis is going to just come out there and win the first one. I think there's going to be something that goes wrong. Lewis can have a paddy, and then he'll probably win the rest of the season. So I'm going to put Lewis in third. I think that Perez is going to come in and win the first one. I think he's just going to come in and shock a little bit, shock his own teammate, whom I think is going to be in second. but that's going to be the battle that we see to open.
That
And
also
then-
put some tension in Red Bull as well.
Yeah. And then that's part of the reason why Lewis isn't able to get to the front, because these guys are fighting it out. And so Lewis is in third.
All right.
Nice mix there.
Yeah, we'll come back to that one in a couple of weeks' time. Is this? I was just going to check what time it is, because it'll be.
It'll be early.
4
Oh no,
o'clock.
it's a night race, so it'll be normal time.
4 o'clock. Yeah, 4 till
And
6.
this season, for the last few years, the race always started on 10 past the hour. This
Yeah, they've
season
gone
it goes back to on the hour.
Which is much better, really. This means we
Yeah.
start at 10 to the hour, doesn't it? Which is fine. And now I'm looking forward to the first race. Get on with it. Let's get going. I hate waiting. It's been a long wait. It's been a long wait. And,
I think the thing that's going to be worse with that is that we've got the first race in 2 weeks, and then there's another 3-week wait after that to get to Italy. So that's going to be atrocious. Is it 2 weeks or is it 3 weeks?
3 weeks, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, it depends on how the weekends fall, I guess. But
26th.
26, 1, 2. It's 2 weeks, but still, we're getting like waiting. It's here, and it's gone again.
Yep.
It was here, but no, it's not. Sorry. Oh,
Especially after last year, when a couple of them was like three in a row, and
There wasn't that much of a break last year. There was the odd one where we'd have a week off, but
yeah, it was so condensed, wasn't it? Starting in July.
So it's going to be interesting with it all spaced out.
I guarantee this season I will not be streaming from South Korea.
Yes, that's a good point. Although I enjoyed that. To be fair, it was quite.
It was great fun seeing the race 5 seconds before you guys, even though geographically you were a hell of a lot closer than me.
Yeah, that was hilarious. That, to be fair.
Yeah. For old time's sake, though, Duff, you might have to move your like stream setup to next to your shower, just so that we can have a bit of a Duff in the shower watching the F1 type deal, like we had in Korea.
And some Korean snacks.
For those of you that didn't see it, in my hotel room, the wall dividing the bathroom and the main bedroom was glass. So yeah.
No privacy for you in South Korea.
It wasn't just me, being in the stream and going, well, I'll have a quick shower.
Well, I mean, that's a whole different type of stream, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
People are making money from it.
Fans.
Yeah. Give it a plug, Duff. No.
All social media at Duff Valley. Don't worry.
So this year we are planning on doing the whole race. Like we said, we're going to try and do some different stuff. A couple of podcasts, maybe after the race, for things to change. Because quite often, when we finish streaming, there's still decisions being made, or appeals, people getting booted out or booted in, fines, and all the rest of it. So we're going to. I don't know if we'll get around to every race, but for a lot of the races, we're going to try and do a midweek sort of podcast catch up. Was one of the things we talked about. We're going to throw in the odd guest as well, which is, I think that went well last year.
Yeah, definitely.
Because there's bound to be weekends where one of us can't make it and stuff as well. So if anyone watching wants to have a go and you want to come and chat Formula 1 with us, by all means, stick your hand in the air like you just don't care. Sorry. We're going to try with that.
Definitely had a good night last night.
No, honestly, believe me. And then we're also going to have a couple of F1 gaming streams, aren't we? So we can come and have a race against Duff and myself and some online Formula 1.
Yeah, that's the one thing from the biggest change, I think, for both of us this season anyway, streaming-wise, is last year we kind of had normal computers and laptops and things like that, and this year we've kind of now got gaming PCs and things that can handle it.
So we're going to do a lot more of that, which will be good fun. Some racing.
And are we going to F1 with steering wheels?
Yes, absolutely we are. Of
Good.
course we are. It's the only way. It's the only way now.
Yep.
It's the only way we're going to do it. We're going to get some track guides and stuff done as well. So you can...
I'll have to get steering wheel cam out as well.
Oh, steering wheel cam. That was one of my random thoughts, and actually it worked quite well. I was when I was here last year, I thought, spare camera, wheel cam.
Yeah, you put. Sorry to completely go off on a tangent, but you had steering wheel cam, but then you decided to do all the easiest parking. What was that about?
Yeah, because I really, really can't park, Duff. It's a well-known
I
fact.
would see all this. It would be brilliant.
Ah, that's where you'd see me swearing like a trooper again. 25 minutes trying to park a truck. No one wants to watch that. No one
Brilliant.
wants to watch that. Well, some of you do.
I
You
want
like
to watch
watching me
that.
suffer. Yeah, I know you do. Well, maybe this Tuesday, and although I'm doing Rocket League, I think. We'll see. We'll see. All right. I think that was just about all the idea. Oh, and obviously the Facebook page. Make sure you're keeping up to date on that as well. Keep putting news and
Yeah,
everything
all
else.
the latest news and everything we put on the Facebook page. So look out for the Effing Race Show on Facebook.
Whoop, whoop. And so crack on. I think
Absolutely.
That's a good time. It's a good time.
It is a good time to draw to a close, yes. Well, before we go, thank you for joining me, ladies
Thanks for having
and
us.
gents. You can work out which one's the lady and which one's the gent. Would you like to promote yourselves? Tell us what's coming up for you this week. Promote your social medias. Restart off.
Matron. You can find me at Rhysage1 on Twitch. You can find me there on Twitter as well and Instagram. This week, I'm streaming. I'm kicking off the Rocket League training sessions. So we're going to get some Rocket League going among the Discord, and we're going to have a bit of fun with that. After Friday's successful fun stream. So we're going to be doing that. Going to do a bit of trucking as well. And then on the weekend, we've got the 4th round of the World Super Beer Championship with our good friend of Captain Brilliant, which will involve some beer tasting and lots of other things.
Duff, how about you?
I'm at Duff Valley everything but Instagram, which is at DimebagDuff. I'm streaming tonight at 6:30. Getting in some Rocksmith, and yeah, my streaming is a bit here and there at the moment as I've just changed jobs. But after that, hopefully, it should be getting on back to normal and some more streaming. But yeah, Rocksmith today.
We want more Duff in our lives. I think we can all say that.
Absolutely.
What about yourself, Jez?
Well, as you already know, I'm here pretty much every waking hour of the day. But you can next catch me later today at 8:30 GMT for 2-minute warning back here on Twitch Sports. We're going to look back at the predictions we made for the 2020 NFL season. Oof. And kind of reflect on where it all went wrong and how terribly badly we did. So. It'll be entertaining to. I think. To be fair, Duff, I think we got the Giants right. I think we predicted they would suck, and they did. So
that's not really a prediction.
And on that note, we're going to finish. Thank you to everyone that's tuned in. You can see us again very soon. If not next week for any news that's come up, then the following week for the first Grand Prix in Bahrain. I've been Jez, that's been Rhys, that's been Duff, and this has been the Effing Racing Show on Twitch Sports.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye-bye.